It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update as WWE have released some brand new Bray Wyatt merchandise despite his release from the company. Samurai Del Sol responds to Chris Jericho following the misspelling of Brody Lee's name. And WWE have released yet more wrestlers from the company. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first... This week, AEW Dynamite drew its worst Wednesday rating since July 2021, with the promotion drawing under 1 million viewers for the fourth week in a row. They were down 6.69% from last week's episode, which drew 941,000 average viewers, this time dropping to 878,000. They were also down a huge 20% in the key demo from last week's 518,000, drawing in 424,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demographic. Despite the fact that Dynamite has drawn under 1 million for 4 weeks in a row, it is worth noting that 2 of those weeks saw the show moved to Saturday nights due to a clash with the MLB playoffs. That said, this is the worst Wednesday night Dynamite rating since July 7th, 2021. Essentially, this is the lowest rating for Dynamite since the hype surrounding CM Punk to AEW began, with the company set for an upwards battle to reach the 1 million mark once again. It'll be interesting to see how AEW counter this low as they head into the AEW Full Gear pay-per-view. Next up, WWE have released some brand new Bray Wyatt merchandise, this despite his release from the company earlier this year. WWE and loyal subjects have linked up to release a series of minifigures which includes recreations of John Cena, Seth Rollins, WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan, WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and Bray Wyatt as The Fiend. This news led to Wyatt's name trending on Twitter, with many wondering why they were releasing merch for a wrestler that is no longer under contract. It's likely that Wyatt will still receive royalties for the sales of these figures, although WWE do own the character of The Fiend. Some have speculated that this means Wyatt has re-signed with WWE, although this can be ruled out with this line likely being planned and produced before his release in July. Earlier today, we discussed a tweet from the former Kalisto in WWE who dedicated his AEW debut to the late Brody Lee. Unfortunately, the now Samurai Del Sol would misspell Brody's real name of John, which saw him receive backlash from fans, AEW star Chris Jericho, and even Brody's wife Amanda. Following Del Sol's AEW debut on Dynamite, where he took part in a losing effort teaming with Aero Star against still AAA Tag Team Champions FTR, he would take to Twitter to state that before his match he prayed and talked to Brody, which gave him strength and energy. He would be called out for the misspelling of John as well as name dropping, with some suggesting there was more to the story than met the eye. For more specific details, make sure you check out our video from earlier today. With that said though, Del Sol would respond to Jericho with an explanation for the error, and he said, "My emotions got the best of me, carnal." As of this writing, this is the only response from Kalisto, with no public reply being made to Amanda, although it's possible that this has been done privately. Either way, the luchador may well have heat beyond the two individuals involved, with his AEW status still up in the air. It's worth noting that this was a one-off appearance, with him seemingly either working on an independent contract or perhaps through AEW's relationship with AAA, although there is no word on whether he is signed to the Mexican promotion. And finally, this evening has seen yet another batch of WWE releases as the roster clear-out continues. So far, we know of 18 names that have been let go from their contracts, so let's run through the latest list of upcoming free agents on the wrestling market. Scarlett Bordeaux was the first to be let go, who has been in limbo ever since the call-up of her husband Karrion Kross to the main roster. The couple had previously worked as an on-screen duo in both Impact Wrestling and subsequently NXT once they signed with WWE 2 years ago, although Scarlett has been nowhere to be seen as of late. Also released from their contract is Taya Valkyrie, who worked in NXT in recent months under the name of Frankie Monet. Having only signed with the promotion in February this year, she wrestled a mere 6 matches after debuting in June, winning her first 3 before losing her last 3. She now returns to the independent circuit under her former in-ring name. The third name released is somebody who has been with the company for longer than the last 2 releases combined, as former NXT Women's Champion Ember Moon has also been let go. Having signed with WWE in 2000 2015, she went on to have a successful run on the NXT brand before getting called up in 2018. She would fail to win any main roster gold before suffering an injury in late 2020, and her return to the ring would take place in NXT once again, where she went on to win the NXT Women's Championship with her then tag partner Shotzi Blackheart. Oney Lorcan is next on the list, who has been with WWE for 6 years at this point, having signed in 2015. Whilst he only made sporadic appearances on NXT ever since his debut, he has had a brief spell on 205 Live and was revealed to have signed a multi-year contract with WWE in 2019. He is perhaps best known for his tag team with Danny Burch, with the pair having fought for the NXT titles in the past, winning the belts for the only time in October 2020 before the belts were vacated in March. Next up is a member of the popular Hit Row faction, that being B-Fab, who was the only female member of the group. Following a career in music, having worked with acts such as Soulja Boy, she was signed to WWE in 2019 before shortly being added to the Hit Row group due to her past career. Having worked a number of house show matches since signing, she had to wait until September of this year to make her TV in-ring debut, only working 2 matches on the new NXT 2.0 before her release. Next is NXT wrestler Jessie Camia, who signed with WWE in 2017 following a first-round loss in the Mae Young Classic of 2018. She never really found her groove on NXT TV, having only wrestled 20 times on television in her 4-year stay with the promotion. Also on the list is Zayda Ramir, a trainee of Booker T's wrestling school. Once again, she was never really a mainstay of NXT television, although she does have some experience on the independent circuit, mostly for Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. Cheetah Ramar is next up, who signed with WWE in 2015. He has competed several times on NXT live events and most prominently appeared on the Indian Superstar Special on the WWE Network, where he took on AJ Styles in his biggest match for the company. Trey Baxter of 205 Live has also been let go, who signed with WWE in February of this year. He has since fought on both 205 Live and NXT, competing for the NXT Cruiserweight title, and took part in the NXT Breakout Tournament, where he was unsuccessful in both. Katrina Cortez has also been released, who many may remember from her brief spell on the main roster as the tag partner of Sin Cara in 2019. She prides herself on being the first Chilean luchador in WWE history, as well as the first masked female. Now let's cover 2 releases in one, as the remaining members of the Lucha House Party have also been cut from the roster. Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik are now both free agents, and this follows the release of former stablemate Kalisto earlier this year. Gran Metalik in fact requested his release a few months ago, and now he has his wish. Now for some more main roster releases, as the aforementioned Karrion Kross has also been let go. This follows a poorly received call-up to the main roster, which succeeded one hell of a run as NXT champion before the NXT 2.0 rebrand, where he and his also free agent wife Scarlett formed a menacing duo with real intensity. It's likely the pair will now work together once again, wherever they end up. Nia Jax is up next, who is one of the most shocking releases of the bunch. A relative of The Rock, Nia has often received strong pushes and is a 3-time champion on the main roster. She has won the Raw Women's title once and the WWE Women's Tag Team titles twice, alongside Shayna Baszler. This release follows a recent apparent face turn after Baszler turned on her in a vicious beatdown. Keith Lee is the next release, who made a name for himself on the independents before a big move to WWE in 2018. After a successful run in NXT, where he would go on to become a double champion of NXT, Lee would be called up to the main roster in a move which once again fell flat. In recent times, he's been billed as Keith Bearcat Lee, and let's hope he reverts to his usual name from now on, with his future no doubt still limitless. Also let go was Mia Yim, who is the wife of Keith Lee, meaning 2 couples have been let go in this set of releases. The 12-year veteran signed with NXT in 2018 after making a name for herself in Impact Wrestling as part of the Dollhouse before becoming an Impact Knockouts champion. Mia's NXT and main roster runs failed to bring her any gold, and she was part of the now infamous Retribution stable, which didn't help her career path in the company. Harry Smith, the former Davey Boy Smith Jr., has also been released after only re-signing with the company a few months ago. He had yet to make his TV return, although he had worked some dark matches on SmackDown, and Smith had been signed to WWE in the past, receiving a decent push in a tag team with Tyson Kidd, who he won tag team gold with. He now returns to the independent scene, where we will probably see him in the likes of MLW and New Japan Pro-Wrestling once again. And finally, I think at least for now, WWE have also confirmed the release of Eva Marie. She made her return to WWE television in May of 2021 on the Raw brand, and following this she would link up with Doudrop, setting up an angle which would see the latter turn face on her more controlling partner. She was then squashed twice by Doudrop before being written off of television after an attack from Shayna Baszler on September 27th, and hasn't been seen on TV since. As usual, it has been reported that the reason given to talents for the releases were that of budget cuts, with this being said in an email from John Laurinaitis, who is the head of talent relations in WWE. But what do you think's next for these releases? Let me know in the comments down below. And before you go, why not check out my video where I discuss 10 wrestlers that would be perfect members of the Elite.